This is Turd Flinging Monkey for TFM News. I'm going to be responding to two different articles. Now I know previously I said I'm not going to combine articles anymore, but these two articles just go together so well. So the first article is called The Ugly Side of Being a Single, Attractive, and Available Heterosexual Woman, appearing in some website called Art Parasites that somebody sent me. And this is going to be a great article about understanding, the women's dating scene. It's hilarious. And the second article is called A Letter to My Wife Who Won't Get a Job While I Work Myself to Death from The Guardian. So these articles are just they're gonna go together like peanut butter and jelly, you'll see. Now this first one is about this woman recounting about all the horrors she faces being a young whore in the world. So as we all know, women really talk a lot, so I'm not gonna be reading this entire article. I'll post a link to it if you want to read it, but I'm just gonna be commenting on some of the highlights of the article. So towards the beginning of the article, it reads, quote, "There's the guy who seems the gentleman who disappears after I tell him I'm not ready to have sex on the third date. There's the guy I go home with for the first time who within 5 minutes of making out is shoving his dick in my face expecting me to go down on him. Years ago, there's the guy I occasionally slept with who one night tells me he just isn't into it unless it's without a condom or anal, and then despite my protest proceeds to shove his unwrapped cock in my cunt and pump away, thinking I'll just get so lost in the moment I'll stop asking him to put on a condom, I have to actually physically push him off and out," unquote. So let's take this one bite at a time because there's a lot to talk about in this one paragraph. So firstly, she doesn't like it that guys she goes on 3 dates with and still refuses to have sex with disappear. Let me explain what a dinner whore is. A dinner whore is a woman who goes on dates with guys she has no interest in a relationship with just to get free meals. And if you're a dinner whore, if you accept dates with men to get free meals and you have no interest in them at all, you are being a bitch. You're wasting their time and their money just because you want free drinks or free meals. Fuck you. I mean, seriously, fuck you. And then she complains about being used for sex. It's the same fucking thing. When a guy asks a woman out on a date, he's saying, "Hey, I'm interested in you physically. I find you attractive. I'd like to put my erect penis into your vagina. Are you interested in me?" And if you accept that date, you're not necessarily saying that we're gonna fuck right then and there, let's go ahead in the bathroom and I'll go down on you, but you are saying, "I find you physically attractive as well," or at least physically attractive enough to see where this is going. So let's go on a couple dates, let's see how our personalities match up, and if we get along, if we enjoy each other's company, let's bump uglies. Now by the third date, he's already spent about $200 on you. I mean, the average meal at a restaurant is going to be about $30 a person. So you're talking $60 for the date. After 3 dates, he spent about $180. That's a lot of money. If the best he's getting from you is a peck on the cheek, you are leading him on. You are using him for free meals. You're not interested in him, you're not attracted to him. Now there's two kinds of women who don't fuck by the third date. There's women who are saving themselves for marriage, which I totally respect. If you're the type of woman who is saving yourself for marriage, you're keeping yourself a pure virgin, I can respect that. And then there are dinner whores, who are just going out with men they're not attracted to get free meals. And those women are cunts. Now, this woman, the woman who wrote the article, is clearly not saving herself for marriage because she fucks guys who aren't taking her out on dates. So the sad thing is, at the beginning of the paragraph, she admits that she goes on dates with guys, multiple dates, doesn't sleep with them, and then resents when they leave. But then other times, she just has a guy she fucks. She says, quote, "There's the guy I occasionally sleep with," unquote. Just a guy she occasionally sleeps with. They're not boyfriend and girlfriend, they're not dating, she just occasionally sleeps with him. I guarantee this guy does not spend any money on her. So you have these guys over here, dropping almost $200 on several dates, on a woman who's not sexually interested in them at all. But meanwhile, while they're spending money on her, she's going around and fucking other guys who aren't spending any money on her because she's physically attracted to them. Now, I don't believe in, karma or anything like that, but generally, if you're going to use people, prepare to be used in return. She's using these guys for free dinners, and guys are using her for sex. If you don't like it, stop using other people. You get what you give when it comes to life. Now, later on in the article, she continues to recount all these instances where she didn't want to do something and the guys, more or less pressured her into doing it. And at the end of the article, the last paragraph reads, quote, "I have never been raped and only have a few nights I don't remember, but I've been coerced time after time after time. I've said no many times and either been made to feel guilty or been placated until I went along with something I didn't want to do. This is what consenting sex looks like. This is what being sexually liberated in our society looks like. Being a single woman who enjoys sex means I have to constantly be defending my body and my morals. Because if left to their own devices, men will revert to treating me as nothing more than a collection of holes for their own use. This is acceptable. Is this the price a woman has to pay if she chooses not to be celibate?" Unquote, end of article. Men obviously like sex. So, unless it's a definite no, they're going to see if there's any sort of wiggle room, some sort of room for compromise. Women like money. Women like a male's utility. And when a woman pressures a man into doing something he doesn't want to do, it's just called nagging. It's a stereotype. Women nag, women bitch, women pressure men to spend money that they don't want to spend on them, to take them out on trips they don't want to take them out on, to do things like get married that they don't really want to do. But when a woman pressures a man to do something, because it's not sexual, it's not conflated with rape. Now, I will give her props for not calling it rape, because obviously in 2016, because it's the current year, anytime a woman is pressured or does something she doesn't want to do, like she has bad sex, it's rape. Oh my God, your dick slipped in her ass during doggy style, you raped her. Oh, she said she wasn't in the mood and then you pressured her into it and she went along with it. Oh my God, she's a rape victim and you're a rapist. But this goes both ways. Women are pressured by men to provide what men value in women, basically their vaginas, their sex. This is what men value in women for the most part. Unless they're looking for kids and families, a woman is basically there to keep your dick nice and moisturized. And if you're not providing that service, they're gonna see what's up. Now, if you just turn off the spigot completely, they're just going to drop you because you're not providing the service they need you for. But if there's some sort of wiggle room, they're going to try to see what they can get. But it works the same with men. Women will try to get a man to spend his money on her, to take her out on trips, to provide some sort of utility to her, and if he doesn't provide those services to her, he's going to get dumped by her. Nobody cares if a man is pressured, or if a man is mistreated, or if a man is exploited for his money and utility. But when it's a woman's sexuality, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Again, it's all about karma. If you're the type of woman who uses men for money and utility, don't be surprised when men use you for sex. So that's all I gotta say to this woman. But again, kudos for not playing the rape card. Now the next article is once again called "A Letter to My Wife Who Won't Get a Job While I Work Myself to Death." And it's a very long, poetic type of letter. This poor guy, my heart goes out to him. He tries to build this rational case towards his wife in this open letter, hoping that she'll see reason and out of love for him will actually start pulling her weight around the house and, contribute economically to the family. Toward the beginning of the article it reads, quote, "I started my career with the grueling hours and high stress that are traditionally visited on young lawyers. You were unexpectedly ambivalent about finding a good job, or any job. After gentle pressure from me and more from the student loan payments, you puttered around in some non-legal positions more suited for someone with half your education and intelligence, and which offered commensurately low pay. Pregnancy, something we both wanted, diverted you from the most important job in the world. After a few years, we were blessed with a second child. You have never returned to work, although both kids have been at school full-time for years and our firstborn is heading to college soon. I've climbed the professional ladder reasonably well. We have the trappings of middle-class success, a nice house in a safe, quiet neighborhood, annual holidays, happy, healthy children, money saved for their college years, but it has come at enormous personal cost to me. My stress levels have increased dramatically with added responsibilities at work, and my health has deteriorated. People who haven't seen me for years flinch when we meet again, and I've attended more than one event at which I've overheard someone remarking how much I've aged. I don't think I can do this for another 25 years. I often dream of leaving my firm for a less demanding position, with you making up any financial deficit with a job, even a modest one of your own. I've asked, and sometimes pleaded, for years, that you go get a job, any job. Many of my free hours are spent helping with the house and kids. And I recognize that traditional gender roles are often oppressive, but that cuts both ways. I would feel less used and alone if you pinched in financially even a little. Unquote. Let me just comment on this. Now, this may bring a little tear to your eye. This poor guy, working himself to death. And of course, as I've made the point in several videos, women will use pregnancy to get out of work. You know, this woman went to law school, got an education, met her husband in school, and now they have these student loan payments, and she decides, well, now that I got this education, but I don't need to get a job. I have a husband that's going to work, so I'm just going to get pregnant and never work again. So they have a couple kids. Obviously, for a year or two, she can't work. And until the kids start going to school, unless they can afford the daycare payments, sometimes for most couples, it doesn't make sense for the woman to work. Because unless she's making a lot of money, all the money she's making is probably just going to go to the daycare. But when those years are over, when the kids are in school, she's in no hurry to get a job. Why would she? She's got the husband paying all the bills. Toward the end of the article, it reads, quote, "I want you to get a job so I don't wake up in the middle of the night worrying that my career is the only one between us and financial ruin. I want you to work so our marriage can feel more like a partnership and I feel less like your financial beast of burden. I want our daughter to see you in the workforce and I want her to pursue a career so she is never as dependent on a man as you are on me, no matter how much he loves her, and he will. But mostly I want you to get a job because I want to feel loved." Unquote, end of article. So yeah, this guy really fucked up. And when did he fuck up? He married a woman. That's when he fucked up. And this letter should be a warning to these guys who marry these strong, independent, financially stable women. And I get these women in my comment section saying, "Oh, I make my own money. I don't need no man." Yeah, you make your own money now because you're single. As soon as you get married and you shit out a couple kids, that job goes away. You know it, I know it, but he doesn't know it. The poor fucking sap that you trick into marrying you, who thinks because you earn your own money. Perhaps you're both equally compensated at your jobs. Perhaps you both earn the same amount of money. So you're like, "Oh man, this is wonderful. I make 50 grand, she makes 50 grand, together we make 6 figures. This is gonna be awesome. So let's get married, let's pool our income, good to go." And then a year into the marriage, "Oh, I'm pregnant, I have to leave work." And now you have to downgrade your lifestyle back to 50K. And now the pressure's on you to work those extra hours, work yourself to death, to get back to that standard of living that you're accustomed to, that she's accustomed to. And she'll just keep shitting out kids as long as you let her to stay out of the workforce. And this poor guy just wants her to pull her fucking weight. And she's not going to. I mean, he's writing this open letter to the Guardian. I mean, clearly this is a conversation he's tried to have with her, and she doesn't give a shit. And why should she? She has him by the balls. If she divorces him, the judge is going to force him to pay her alimony based on their standard of living because that's the lifestyle, quote, she's accustomed to. So he's totally fucked. He's working himself into an early grave right now. And if he tries to take his foot off the gas, she's going to divorce him, take him to court, and the judge is going to order him under penalty of jail to continue to maintain her current standard of living. So now not only is he going to be working himself into an early grave to pay her standard of living, he's also got to support himself. So now he's going to work even more hours. He's going to work himself into an earlier grave. Meanwhile, she's going to be fucking other men in his house. And this guy has really no good options. He fucked up because he married a woman who he thought was actually going to contribute based on her education. Because they were equally educated and, you know, he was a lawyer and they went to school, whatever. He had this illusion that they were actually going to be partners. That's where he fucked up. And unfortunately, this man is a victim of this egalitarian mindset. Because of sexual reproduction, because women have the babies, men and women are never going to be equal. But he believed the lie. He married this woman thinking, oh, we're going to be partners, we're going to contribute equally. And lo and behold, when sexual reproduction became a thing in their marriage, all that shit went out the window. As it always does. It's simply a product of nature. And now he's backed into a corner. He's working himself to death, and he can't stop or he's going to get divorced. The wife's going to take the kids, put them on child support and alimony so that she can have the lifestyle she's accustomed to, and then he's fucked. Fucked up the ass. My advice to him is you need to quit your job. It's going to pay less, but you're going to live longer. Take the job while you're married. Downgrade your lifestyle before you get divorced. Because once she leaves, the judge is going to say that you need to maintain the standard of living she's accustomed to. So if you wait until the divorce to get a new job, the judge is going to force you to pay the alimony based on your previous position. But if you change jobs while you're married and your standard of living goes down, the judge isn't going to order you, hopefully, I mean, who knows with these fucking judges, but hopefully the judge doesn't order you to maintain her former standard of living. I mean, that's your best bet. Working yourself to death is not in your best interest. And keeping this bitch in your life, simply to avoid divorce and alimony, isn't in your best interest either. You're being worked to death. And she clearly doesn't love you. This is the biggest punch to the dick. I mean, this guy is doing so much for her. And they have children together, he's given her this life, and she doesn't give a shit about him. Working him to death, doesn't give a shit. She just doesn't want to get a job. And he knows. The fact that he's writing this open letter in The Guardian, he knows if he puts his foot down, she'll leave. That's how little she thinks of him. He just wants to feel loved, in his own words. Well, you can't feel love from a person who doesn't love you. She doesn't love you. She never loved you. She used you, and she's working you to death. So you need to think strategically. You need to think 2 steps ahead. You need to downgrade your lifestyle because she's going to divorce you. And because she never worked, the judge is actually going to give her more money than normal. So you're going to be fucked. You're going to be totally fucked. But you did it to yourself. You don't have any good options, but working yourself to death is definitely not your best option. I recommend downgrading your lifestyle so that the divorce and alimony settlements are going to be a little bit more manageable. Find a job that you enjoy doing and do that. Possibly think about getting the fuck out of Dodge, moving away. Just start a whole new life. And yeah, you're not going to see your daughter again. Your wife's going to poison her mind against you anyway. That ship is going to sail. Now maybe you want to stay in this marriage while your kids are young. Maybe divorce her after the kids have left. That's a possibility. They're still going to hate you because they're going to be like, you abandoned mom. They're not going to think, oh, mom used you and worked you to an early grave and never loved you. Those thoughts will never enter their head. They'll blame you for leaving mom. So do you want to work yourself to death just to get a pat on the back from the wife who doesn't love you and the daughter who is going to side with the wife? If that's worth your life, then you know what? You do what makes you happy. But let this be a warning to the men out there. These women you meet in college or at your job that make just as much money as you, as soon as you marry them, they're going to shit out a couple kids and they're going to stop working. Stop thinking of them as your partners. They're not your partners. They're not going to be your partners. Not for lack of trying. You may find a woman who wants to be your partner, but due to the fact that they're going to have the babies and can't work while they're pregnant or nursing or whatever, or they simply can't afford the daycare because they don't earn enough, they're going to be relying on your income, at least for a few years, and they may get accustomed to that. But by the time you figure out what kind of woman she is, it's too late. You've already had kids with her. You're already in a long-term relationship with her. If you find out she's a bitch and she's just using you to avoid having to get a job, there's nothing you can do at that point. So it's not worth the risk. Because you don't know what kind of person this is. She may be putting on an act. Talking about, oh, we're going to be partners. I'm going to pay half the bills. We both earn this money. We're both going to pursue our careers. Oh, I had a kid. I'm quitting. You don't know what's going to happen until it's too late. Once she has you by the balls. So those are my comments on these 2 articles. I gave some solid advice to men and women. Women, once again, karma. Don't use men for money and expect them not to use you for sex. Simple as that. If you're respectful to others, people will respect you. If you're disrespectful to others, people will disrespect you. And guys, for the love of Hanuman, stop getting married. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. This is Turd Flinging Monkey signing off.